around and quickly share who you are, what you've built, and what kind of community that you've created. And let's start with you, Andrew.
Yeah, nice to meet everyone. I'm Andrew Petcash, founded Profluence, started building on the media side, have about 150,000 followers on my personal brand, leveraged it and raised a $3 million venture fund. This is all in the sports world. And then found this gap of between the media and the fund to launch a community. So for sports founders, actually really good timing. Today was exactly 4 months since we launched. June 16th was the launch of our community, and just crossed 420 members as well. So I'm excited to share some insights and dive deeper into that today. So thanks for having me, Alexis, and nice to meet you, Io and Alina.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Andrew. I know that you are trying to get to 500 members by the end of the year. So the fact that you're already at 420, you've got almost a whole left of the year. That's amazing. Io, you introduce yourself. I'll have you go next.
Cool. Yeah. So my name is Io. I'm an author, like, first and foremost. I got started writing mostly about like self-improvement topics after I started using a lot of like those tools and principles that changed my life. Started sharing that stuff with a lot of other people online, particularly on a website called Medium, where that has a huge following. I became one of the most successful writers on the website, top earning writer on Medium for 6 months in a row, top 10 most followed writers on the platform. I think I have like 130,000 followers over there. Long story short, after I started doing really well writing on Medium, people started asking me, how do I write articles and make money on Medium? So I launched a course on making money writing on Medium. That did really well. And so over time, like, I started learning different components of building a career as a writer and an author, things like building up your audience, building an email list, marketing, doing launches, all that stuff. And so that led to me creating the Writers League. And the Writers League is a community that helps writers grow their careers, right? So you talk about writing, but we also talk about some things that are important for building your career, like marketing, list building, creating products, getting freelance clients. So it's kind of a one-stop shop for all things, making a writing career. And Writers League is done very well. I think we've had like over 250 members so far. So yeah, that's me.
I love it. I love what you've built. I love who you've built it for. Writing communities, in my opinion, are the best. Alina.
I'll take it from here. My name is Lena. I've been a creative entrepreneur for the past 5 years. I shared a post earlier today with a little more detail on my journey, but I was in corporate, really similar to Sahil's trajectory, actually, who just spoke before us. For 7 years, I worked in corporate. And then I left in December 2019, so right before the whole world turned upside down, and decided to see what I was capable of creating on my own. My path started with mindfulness. I started a company called Office Flow Consulting that was to bring mindfulness to corporate spaces, and then I pivoted into one-on-one coaching. As that was getting off the ground, I took a DJ lesson just for fun and ended up doing it professionally. And with DJing and coaching, that's how I matched my corporate salary. And so I was documenting this whole journey on Instagram, and people who were coming to me for coaching were also aspiring creatives and entrepreneurs, and they wanted to know how to build their personal brand and overcome self-doubt and limitations. And so I decided to get everyone together after 4 years of one-on-one coaching and in-person events, and I launched the Conscious Life Design Studio on Circle. My coaching business is called Conscious Life Design. And our core practice is EFT tapping, which is a therapeutic technique which helps with anxiety and rewiring subconscious beliefs. So as you guys all know in here, mindset is so important when you're creating something, and self-doubt, anxiety, limiting beliefs, all of those things get in the way. So we have weekly sessions to help people stay inspired and motivated and on track, and we have over 250 members.
I love that you became a DJ. I love that you also resonated so much with Sawhill's journey from corporate to entrepreneurship. Okay, I want to start with how you first decided that you wanted to do a paid membership model. Can we start with you, Andrew?
For sure. Yeah. And it's a good question. So ours actually started free. We created on Circle for all of our investors in our fund and all of our portfolio company founders, just a private Circle community with all our resources, with sharing a lot of our deals, sharing just insights. We would do our weekly emails there, quarterly events. And then we just said, why don't we open this up for the public as well, for other early stage founders in sports? And so we opened up the public side, made it paid. I know we're getting into pricing later. We decided on $50 a month. And ultimately, we think never believe we're competing with anyone. I always take the collab over compete approach, but we may be competing a little with accelerators now, or incubators, in the sense of, instead of giving up 5 to 7% of your company in equity to go through an incubator and accelerator, we believe now that, hey, pay $50 a month or $500 a year, and you get a lot of the same stuff, which is the networking, the events, and we can get into more all that we offer a little bit later. But it was really just to serve these early stage founders and say, hey, it's better investment for $50 a month than giving up a large chunk of your company. And so that's why we opened it up to the paid side. And yeah, a lot has happened since then, but that was the initial thinking and thought process.
Hey y'all, I'm just jumping in. I think Alexis is hopefully she comes back. I know you all love to hear from Alexis, but for now, hopefully my internet helps a little bit more for this conversation. Would love to hear from Alina, if you want to go around how you kind of like the beginning, why you launched your community, that piece, and then we can jump into how you all got your first founding members. I think you muted, sorry. Yeah.
Thank you. So I was actually going through burnout myself. Being a solopreneur from December 2019 to like when I started the community, which was summer of 2023, I myself was feeling the burnout, and it led me to rediscover the practice of EFT tapping. And it rejuvenated me so much that I actually decided to get certified in the practice and share it with other people. So that was at the heart of it. I'll just segue a little bit into, that's how my first founding members came about, is because I started practicing with my existing one-on-one clients and invited all of my past one-on-one clients to be at the core of the community, because it made such a positive impact in my life that I felt very, very strongly called to start sharing it in groups. And that's how the community was born.
And I'd love to hear from Ao maybe a little bit around how you got your first founding members.
Yeah, so to get my first founding members, the most critical component was like having distribution, or like people that actually sell it to. So pretty much all of my students, anyone who's an entrepreneur, anyone who runs an online business, from day one, I tell them, like, start and grow an email list immediately. And it's like my number one recommendation. And like my email list is responsible for probably like 90% of my income most of the time, right? So the reason why having an email list is so important, it's because it's an email is a better environment to sell to, or to sell through. It's like using when you're posting stuff on like social media platforms, or you're creating content, like people aren't going to be as receptive to you like making pitches directly on the timeline. But if you get them on your email list, where either you can like frequently communicate with them, get them to know, like, and trust you, start talking about the pain points they're going through, the things they're experiencing, and then like alluding to the fact that you have a solution, then it's a lot easier to sell that way. So I built up an email list. Like when I was writing on Medium, I made sure to add a call to action to my email list for every single blog post I wrote. Right, so it'll help me build a nice sized list. And so when I was doing the launch for the community, I did an official launch for it. And the couple things I did with the launch were important. Like one, anytime you're going to do a launch, you don't just want to say, "Hey, my community is open, join." You have to start teasing them and start like previewing what's to come. So I like to do my launch formula is pretty simple. Usually the week before the launch, I'll do what's called a problem, agitate, solve formula, right? So you talk about their problem. So I'll do one email talking about the problem. I'll do one email like agitating the problem, right? So maybe email one, I'll talk about, oh, you're struggling to write consistently. You don't know how to build an audience. You don't know how to make sales, blah, blah, blah. Then you go to the agitate. Then in the solve email, you're like, okay, like here's a quick tip for you. And then Monday, I'm going to be dropping my announcement for the community. Then you do the launch. And then when you do launches, a couple things that are really important. Understand that to be more aggressive when you're sending emails. So usually like a lot of people are afraid to promote, but if you're doing a launch, like some people send 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 emails on the last day because especially like if you put a deadline, which is another thing you should do. Like I always put some sort of deadline to get people to take action. So I'll either say like, I think I said, okay, this is the price and the price is going to go up right after the launch. And then just be very aggressive on the last day about sending those emails. I think I probably had like 10,000 or so emails or something like that at the time. And yeah, just having that list. Like you have to have distribution. Like if no one knows who you are or there's no way for you to reach them directly, it's going to be like very hard for you to sell stuff. So I always tell people on attaching to their content, having that back end distribution system with your email list, and then doing a launch where like you send a lot of these days I send a lot of emails. A lot of people are afraid to promote. Like I send 3, 4, 5 emails a week because you have to understand you're in competition with other creators and people aren't just sitting at the inbox like waiting for your emails. Like they have tons of other things that they're subscribed to. So getting people on your list and then frequently communicating with that list, I think is the best way to grow your community.
I love that. There's a lot of comments and questions in chat for you. I don't know if we can answer all of them, but there's a good one here around like how long before the launch did you start emailing your list to like keep them warm and what that looked like? And then I'll throw some questions over to Andrew.
Yeah, that's a good question. I always email my list. Like I never don't email my list, right? So I'm always usually sending 2 or 3 times a week. Like now I'm at the point I send emails like every day. I'm doing like daily emails. But what I did last time, it was like a 2-week launch where the week before I did like a problem, agitate, solve email series, and then the actual launch window was like 7 days long. And then like prior to that, what I would do is like I would just send my normal emails like, oh, like, here's your writing tip for the day. But then in the PS, I would keep saying this date I'm launching something really big. So like I would do that on my emails and my social content, like this date something big is coming, sharing like a little piece. And then like the official launch would be, I would say that week, like a week of warm up and a week of the actual launch. But even these days, you don't have to keep your cart open for that long. I actually think keeping your cart open like a little bit shorter, like 4 or 5 days, even sometimes 3, 4 days is fine. But yeah, I guess hopefully that answers your question.
And that was awesome. Yeah, sorry, jump in, Andrew.
Yeah, I was just going to add a few things, and I think there was a ton of great points in there. I actually wrote down some stuff, and when you talk about the problem, we always talk about this internally as you're the doctor and you have the solution, you have the fix to everyone else's problems. And so it's like, what are your potential community members or the people you're selling to? What are their problems, right? If you're a doctor, it's, a tooth and you're going to fix it. And ours for founders was a lot around fundraising, was a lot around networking, was a lot around like what tools to use. And so it was like, let's highlight those problems and let's show we can fix them and we have the people to do it and we have all the resources. So like one of the things we did in our email list, if you join the community, like we give you a sports startup course for free. And we also give you an investor list of 300 investors in sports. So you get that, like, again, it's not really technically free if you're joining the paid community, but it's sort of like giving them something to entice. And then something else I'd call out is the distribution is huge. I spent 2 years building my audience, have over 30,000 email subs now, a lot of which I pushed from Twitter. So I grew Twitter when it was really hot too, or X now, to 100,000 followers. And then LinkedIn got top voices and 25,000 followers now. So like it takes a long time. Is like you got to build up, and I'm sure Alina and Aya would agree with that. To start from scratch, you got to build a trusted brand. So anyway, I could go all day about this stuff, but we'll keep rolling in. I don't want to take up all the space.
No, that was great. Kind of speaking about time here, how long did it take you all to hit your first 100 paying members, if you can recall?
It took us about a month, two basically email launches. And then now we're starting to get a lot of word of mouth finally. So I think network effects are starting to hit at around 350, 400 members.
Bad answer for me. I have no idea. I don't remember. It maybe probably in month 2 or 3, I would say. Month 2 or 3. It wasn't on the first crack, that's for sure. But I think like the second or third time we got there. I don't know the exact figure, unfortunately.
Yeah, I would say, well, my community just turned 1 in August, and it was within the first year. And the way that it happened for me, like if you look at my metrics, you'll see like big spikes. I mean, I guess like a lot of people do launches, but what I do is I host live experiences. My strongest way of showing up is just live. I don't really like to do pre-recorded content. I never pushed pre-recorded webinars or anything like that. So I would post live workshops and actually have people come and experience what they would experience in the community. So every time that I would host a workshop, I would see a surge. So that's what I mostly leaned on.
I did that as well too. I did do some webinars, live workshops. People love webinars, live workshops, and if you walk like a delicate dance between education, entertaining, and selling, like you can convert a lot of people that way too. So I forgot about that. I did do a couple lives and webinars and stuff like that as well.
Something we did also, or we're doing, is a live pitch competition. So I know it's different for a lot of people in other industries, but we're putting up $5,000 for the winner, but you have to be a community member to pitch. So, using enticing ways to get people in.
Let's switch gears here and talk a little bit about pricing. So I know that's something that a lot of community builders love to dig into. So I'm curious, maybe we can go around and one, let everyone know what your pricing model is, and if you're fine with saying the actual numbers, and then 2, like maybe how the pricing model has changed over time. Do you want to start? Yeah, Andrew.
Yeah, I'm happy to start. We charge $50 a month and then $500 a year. So basically you're getting 2 months free if you pick the annual. We're trying to figure out how to push more people to annual. Most of ours are still month to month, which again could be more revenue over a year, but it's kind of scary when people are month to month, because as you're building expenses in, and we hired first hire, best hire ever for the community. We have other people in our organization, but on the community, the first hire we made is a community manager. So we hired someone that just engages with everyone, set up all the workflows, all through Circle, which is why we love the platform, because you can just keep everything within. Interested to check out the marketing hub from the email side of that. Now I know you guys just launched that, so that will be good. But just daily engagement is key. So anyway, I don't want to get too off topic on the pricing, but we are thinking of increasing it potentially at 500 members to $100 a month, and we'll see. I don't know. There's a lot of nuance to that. I don't want to go too deep into detail on it.
I think Alexis might be back. You're good. Okay. You hang in the background. I'll hand it over to Lena to go through, your pricing model and what that looks like and how it's evolved.
I started with monthly and yearly, and now I just have monthly because right now I'm focused really on just simplicity and removing as many options as possible and just keeping it really straightforward and simple. It's monthly, cancel anytime, and I came up with the rate. It's $49 a month, and I did that just based on market research and seeing what other creators in the similar industry are doing. And I found that that's a good price point where it feels like premium, where people show up, because when there is that energy exchange with the monthly rate, people are more accountable to actually show up and use the membership, and still keeping it affordable.
Let's see. In my case, it started out, it was like $59 a month, and then we moved to quarterly and annual pricing, where I was doing $249 a quarter and then $797 for the year. Right now it's at like $997 for the year. And then I also, like, a thing I've been focusing more on lately, I have like a higher ticket group coaching thing attached to the top of the Writers League that I charge $1,000 a month for. And that's for people who are like a little bit more advanced and want to scale their businesses. For me personally, I've just gotten to a point in my life where I tend to price things on the premium end, because for me, like, it personally, just my perspective, it tends to attract higher quality, higher invested prospects who are like more motivated to do the work. I used to sell like a lot of low ticket products, and frankly, the level of like effort that I had to do in order to help people get results, which people who pay lower prices tend to be way more like on the beginner spectrum, where they're like complete starting from scratch. It usually just takes more energy and effort to get results. And so like over time, as my skills have gotten better, I'm just kind of self-selecting for the people that I want to work with. And I think you can look at price as a filter. Like, price is a filter for like the type of people that you want to work with. And one thing I've learned in terms of pricing as well is, especially as I've dived more into the world of like the high ticket pricing models, I feel like people understand that you could probably command a lot higher rates than what you are currently doing. I know you guys are well connected with Jay Klaus, and his community is like $3-4 grand a year, and it self-selects for the type of people who are invested in getting results. So like that's where my business model is moving. It's more towards luxury, premium. Not that I think affordable options are bad. It's just that's not the way I want to run my business. I'm kind of optimizing for peace and sanity versus getting the most customers, and just kind of working with people who I feel like I can get the best results, and that like frankly that I like working with. And I found that price tends to have a correlation with that. So I try to price things in the higher end now.
On the pricing conversation, anyone feel free to jump in and answer this one, but we have a question from Brian around, would you suggest starting a free community to learn from your audience and then start charging, or jump right into paid? Any advice for Brian?
I mean, we did start free, and we learned from the people we were closest with, which was people we wrote checks into from our fund. So they gave us very honest feedback of like, this isn't good, this won't work, we don't care about this, we'd love more of this, hey, could you do these? And then it was like, there's so much value. They were trying to add all their just employees, and we're like, no, please don't. Like, it's just for founders, but we're going to open this up for a paid version. So I'd say, yeah, I think I would do that, at least for a little bit.
And then when it comes to like annual or quarterly or monthly, like how do you all decide on that? Or do you have advice for anyone who's thinking about what sort of cadence to have their pricing?
As for me, unlike Andrew, like my monthly churn was getting to the point where it was getting a little bit high. I just got rid of it altogether. Honestly, again, just for like my peace of mind. And the way I've kind of pivoted more is my model. Fewer people are able and willing to buy, but they tend to stay longer. They have higher LTV. They get better results of the things that I teach. And so now, like a lot of the times, like the main thing I'm focusing on is like the higher ticket stuff. And so now I'll get someone to pay me $5-10 grand at a time, So it's like, okay, if I can just find, a handful of people who want that premium experience, like I don't have to bother with someone like asking me 98 questions about a $49 product. There's that meme, like, $500 client asks you 97 questions, $50,000 client just paid the invoice, thanks. Like, it's a little bit tongue in cheek, but I've come to find that as working in an agency. I worked in an agency, marketing agency, for 5 years. I've been doing online business and stuff like that for another 5 years. There is a correlation between like the amount of hassle you have to experience with customers and price, at least in my experience. So like, I personally just like literally just don't want to deal with it anymore. So I just don't.
Absolutely. Have any of you guys done A/B testing? Someone in the chat was asking, with your pricing specifically. Yeah, maybe something to consider for the future. What else do we have? So changing gears again, curious about engagement strategies, especially starting out early. I think a lot of community folks, when they launch a community space, they're worried about the engagement and having to like force it. Any advice for people on like bringing that engagement up, especially in the early stages of your community?
Yeah, I can take that one. This excites me a lot more than pricing, to be honest with you. So something that I did right off the bat with my community is I put rituals in place. So we actually have like a very similar structure 1 year later that we started with, which was every Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern time, we meet for our 30-minute EFT tapping session. And also I paired that hand in hand with a journal entry. So we have what I call a social journal. So people go in there and they write their entry for the day. It's very simple. It's based around gratitude. I have other things that happen in the community throughout the week. Not too much, but that's like the core of it. So what happens is people get into the swing of it and it becomes a ritual in their life. And then they know what to expect. Of course, you always have to keep it a little fresh. We have one workshop once a month, and that one gets scheduled randomly every month, but they know that if it's Wednesday and it's 12 o'clock, that they can tune in live. And if they can't tune in live, they know that they can catch a fresh new recording of that week, and they know when it's going to be available. So I found that giving people something that they can rely on has been really helpful, especially in the niche that I have of anxiety and grounding. It's really nice to know that you have this community, no matter what you're going through in your life. On Wednesdays at 12, you can chime in. And again, back to analytics, which is something else I like about Circles. I can look at everything at a glance, and you can see, like, I don't know if anyone has ever looked at their engagement chart, like every day. Like Wednesday is like this concentrated blue. Everything else kind of like floats around. In the middle of the week is most engaged in general, because on the weekends, I'm sure people are out and about doing their thing. But Wednesdays at noon, like people are in there. And it's been very reliable for engagement.
Any advice from you, Ao, or Andrew on engagement?
The thing that was probably the best for me was hosting events. So the events we did the most, we did a lot of we did 5-day challenges, like a 5-day sprint just to achieve a certain goal. So for example, a lot of people, they were struggling to get their newsletter started. That was a big hurdle, starting the list. And so we did a 5-day newsletter challenge on that, and people really loved that. And a lot of people who had been struggling to create an email list for months or even years got their list up, got it up and going. So having those dedicated challenges, a very specific outcome, that worked really well. We're actually in November, we're going to be doing another challenge on Substack too. So what I did was I would run the event for free for members, but then I would charge people in the outside public, and then I would upsell the people who bought the challenge into the main thing. But then it was just a free value add for people who were already in the community. We also, in April, I did a virtual summit. I had 20 different 6- and 7-figure business owners come on and give talks about creating offers that sell, marketing, content creation, some of the biggest names in the creator space, legit. And then I also had did a lot of the guest workshops with popular, successful creators. We had big time copywriters, people with personal brands and stuff. So probably the biggest things, the 5-day challenges were for sure a favorite. And then second favorite would be like when I had a guest workshop where someone who, could like fill in the gaps. Like now inside of the community, I have content on from like 36 different people who are all like the best of what they do. So it's like, it helped add to the evergreen content as well. So events would be the thing that helps get the most engagement in our community for sure.
Yeah, and adding to that, I'll say we message every person once a month. I personally go through, I have our chief of staff or go through on my account and go message everyone personally, and then I answer anything we need to. So that's been huge. It feels very personal in there. And then I'll quickly, and I can jot this down, or maybe Alexis or whoever, I'll shoot you a note, but I just wanted to like outline like all the different things we do. I think it'd be super helpful for people and they take it where they want, but and I put them into two sides. From a distribution side, we promote in our weekly newsletter. We promote on LinkedIn. We do a free panel a month for anyone to join that draws people. We do a pitch competition. We do resources to draw people in, and then we partner with events for in-person things. And so that's how we drive most of the people in. And then what we're providing, and these are just a few of the things to community members, is we bring on one subject matter expert a week to come talk to the whole community. We answer every question, so it's 24/7 access to us. And so it does feel a little transactional at times, but I get a ton of messages on LinkedIn and Twitter. And so I just go, if you want to message with me, you want to talk with me, like here's our community, which I don't love it, but like that's what I have to do. And then we have subgroups as well. So we have a fundraising meeting every week for Founders Raising Capital. We have a females founder group every week, and then we have a few others. We do a weekly news recap, and then we have a few other small things. But I figured that would be helpful from distribution, how we bring people in, to what we're providing with them.
Yeah, I feel like I can picture this whole calendar view of all of those activities and events and things that you have going on in your community. It's really helpful to see those examples for others. Tied to this piece around engagement, I think is the flip side is churn. There's a question from Sohi, sorry if I said your name wrong, around like churn rate, if you're comfortable sharing what your churn rate is, or if you have any benchmarks that you follow, and then two, any retention initiatives that you all have set up to hopefully like lower that churn.
Yeah, mine with the monthly got really pretty bad, frankly. I don't remember the exact number, but it was enough that I decided, maybe that wasn't the reason. But the model itself, maybe at the time I felt it was causing the churn. Because even people like sometimes like Alex or Moses, he says like the frequency with which like someone pays something, it kind of like continually reminds them that they're continually reinvesting into something so that they don't feel like they're getting enough out of it. And the money keeps hitting your account and stuff like that. It can be tough. So for me, like switching to the annual pricing helped a lot with it. Frankly, too, also, even though I've made a lot of money, like I'm actually not very, like I don't keep track of my numbers very well, and it's probably not a great thing. But in overall, the events, like having an event like once every couple of months would always like re-spark or re-engage the community and kind of make them feel like it's somewhere they wanted to be. So that's probably the number one thing I did, but the pricing helped a lot for me personally.
I also don't know what my exact number is, but something that I've been experimenting with is if somebody cancels, which my community is so kind, they like sometimes will actually reach out to me and say, hey, thanks for everything. It's just, sometimes, especially with the nature of the community, like people get what they need and then they go on their way. And that's almost like really beautiful actually in the nature of what I do. But if I feel like it's like I just lost a gig and I'm tightening up my finances, sometimes I'll offer like a gift of a month and have them stay, and then sometimes they end up coming back and re-signing up, and they kind of keep that consistency. And also events as well. So like public events. So those workshops that I mentioned where I see a spike of members come in. I've had people actually re-enter. So if I do a little promotion for new members, if they're re-entering the community, sometimes they do that with the promotion that I'm running at the time.
All right, I have one last rapid fire question. If you all can just chime in real quick. If you were starting off from scratch today for your course or your community, what simple launch strategy would you focus on as quickly as you can say it? And then I'll hand it over to Alexis.
I'll go. I would focus on building your distribution. Like I've seen after we launched our community, I saw a handful of other people think they could launch theirs in a similar niche, and they all flopped within 3 weeks. And it was just a testament to the brand and trust we built over 2 years before. So it sounds like AO and Alina like built really strong relationships with their audience, and it's a personal touch, honestly. I've answered every Twitter and LinkedIn message for the last 3 years. So to me, the community has been, over the last 4 months, has been a result of 4 years of work before today. So I know it's not the answer everyone wants to hear, but it's like, yeah, brick by brick is how I look at it.
Yeah, build your distribution. Also, another thing that was real helpful, I had like the annual memberships. I was selling for like $800 to $1,000. I actually would like send DMs to people in my audience too and engage them. I think the first month I did, I added like the extra 10 grand in sales. So if you have a smaller audience, actually like starting conversations with people who like your stuff and closing them manually if you don't have a really big audience can be helpful too. But then also, yeah, just build an email list and sell to it.
Yeah, I agree with what the guys just said. And it's hard to say what can you do real quick when you're starting out, because you really have to build on trust and authority. But you can also build trust and authority relatively quickly if you like choose a platform that really works for you, that really aligns with your style and your communication style. If you're already either an expert in a space, or like you have a true service that you can offer people, you can establish yourself. And then what I would do, what's always worked for me, is showing up live and actually spending time with people and showing, like, speaking your truth and genuinely making connections, especially for that first initial cohort, which is why the one-on-one clients are super helpful, because they already believe in you, and that energy like really spreads to the rest of the community.
I love that. That's a theme that came through yesterday as well. It's just being human, authentic, connection with your audience.